This is the mission history for the third week of July, presented by Pastor James Wang. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a man whose work, way out in a remote part of China, would literally change the course of Korean history. This is the story of John McIntyre, a Scottish missionary whose path led him to become just this incredibly pivotal figure for the Korean people.
So who was this guy, John McIntyre? Well, his journey kicks off in Scotland, but his destiny? That was waiting for him thousands of miles away.
So you can kind of see his path laid out here. Born in 1837, ordained in his late 20s, and boom, by 1872 he's answered the call and is on his way to China. You can really see this clear trajectory, right? A path that was just pulling him towards the Far East. So when he finally arrives, he and his colleague get some advice. Go where few have gone before. And that meant heading to the rugged, wild region of Manchuria, right there on the border with Korea. And let me tell you, this one move, it was going to define everything that came next.
Now this is where he teams up with John Ross, another missionary from Scotland. And you really can't tell McIntyre's story without mentioning Ross. They formed this absolutely crucial partnership, a team laser-focused on their shared goal of setting up a mission on this new, challenging frontier.
And their bond became even deeper than just their work. A real tragedy struck John Ross's family, and his sister, Catherine, came all the way out to help. And right there, in the middle of this challenging new life in Manchuria, she and McIntyre fell in love and got married. It's amazing, right? Their personal and professional lives just completely intertwined, making their commitment to the mission even stronger.
Okay, so it was during one of their journeys that a chance meeting at the border just changed everything. I mean, they finally came face to face with people from Korea, a nation so isolated back then that people called it the Hermit Kingdom.
And this is how it all started. It began with this really simple but totally profound realization. McIntyre knew that if he wanted to share his message, he first had to understand the people and their language. So when he meets this man, Iung Chon, back in 1874, he doesn't start preaching. Nope. He asks for help. He asks him, "Will you be my teacher?" And that one simple request, just asking someone to teach him the language, well, it blossomed into something truly historic just 2 years later. In what was a truly landmark event, John McIntyre baptized his language teacher, Young Chon, and 2 other men, Baek Hong Jun and Song Ha. This was the moment. So think about what this means. This wasn't just a small event. This moment marked the official birth of the Protestant Church for the entire Korean nation. The first seeds were planted. But you might be wondering, how would this new faith grow? How could the message possibly get back into Korea, a land that was still completely closed off to foreigners? Well, the answer, as it turns out, was going to come from a totally unexpected place.
So the next chapter of this incredible story doesn't even start with a missionary. It starts with a young Korean man who's on a very personal quest.
This young man, Seo Sung-lien, travels all the way to Manchuria, just looking for his friends. But when he finds them, he's actually pretty scared of their new forbidden faith. But fate had something completely different in store for him.
And then disaster strikes. Seo gets desperately ill. We're talking a raging fever. And his friends? The very same ones whose new faith he was afraid of. They brought him to the missionary hospital. And that's where he finally meets John McIntyre.
And what happens next is just so powerful. It wasn't a sermon that changed Seo's heart. It was simple compassion. You see, McIntyre himself personally cared for him, nursing him back from the very brink of death. And in that desperation, Seo makes a promise. And once he recovered, he kept it, making this incredibly heartfelt confession of faith, just full of gratitude. And that brings us to the spring of 1879, another absolutely pivotal moment. John McIntyre baptized Seo Sung-rayon, the man who would become essential for the next monumental task. Because it turned out that Seo had this incredible natural gift for languages. And with McIntyre and Ross guiding him, he channeled that amazing talent into the really painstaking work of translation. And because of his efforts, the very first Korean language Bible was published. Think about that. It put the scriptures right into the hands of ordinary people in their own language. It opened up a whole new chapter for millions.
So when you look back, even though his name might not be as famous as some others, McIntyre's contributions were, without a doubt, foundational.
He was really a catalyst, wasn't he? He co-pioneered the mission in Manchuria, he performed the very first baptisms, and his simple act of kindness, caring for a sick stranger, is what directly led to the translation of the Bible. He really set in motion this whole chain of events that would literally shape the spiritual landscape of an entire nation. His life is just this amazing testament to how one person's quiet dedication can have an impact far, far beyond their own time.
It really leaves you with a powerful thought, doesn't it? What you should really take away from all this is that small, maybe even seemingly insignificant acts of faith and kindness, they can create ripples that travel through generations in ways we can never, ever predict.
Pastor James Huang, who served as a missionary in China and now ministers in Maryland, USA, is a researcher of Korean mission history. He shares his book, Remember and Repay: 52 Weeks of Mission Meditations, weekly.